Hello awesome fans, this is Carpetia here.
And Big Pete.
Today we're going to show you the difference between a Ultraman Ultra Egg original versus the bootleg. First off, I think if you look at the size of the original Ultraman Egg, Ultra Egg, the size is actually much smaller than the bootleg Ultraman here, you can see.
Alright.
Okay, now first noticeable difference is when you compare the original versus the fake. If you look at the eyes, right? The bootleg has a very ugly yellowish color they use for the eyes. But if you look
it's
at
just a paint job, yeah.
It's just a very ugly paint job. I mean, even the color is very inconsistent. But if you look at the original Ultraman, it's actually a separate part. That's how you will see it from the TV. It's translucent as well, and with a dotted shapes, just like how the real Ultraman would look like. Okay. Secondly, if you look at the original versus the fake Ultraman as well, look at the bootleg finishing and quality. It's just like a blue blob on the chest.
It's also painted on top of it.
Correct. But if you look at the original one, especially the one on TARO, yeah, it is actually a separate piece altogether, plastic, right? But if you look at the fake version, it is actually quite horrible as well.
It's a one-piece color molded.
Yes, and also if you look at the TARO as well, just like the original Ultraman as well, the eyes on the bootleg TARO is just very uglily, colored, and this TARO from the original Ultra Egg is actual plastic piece as well. It looks much more real. The other point that is interesting to note, if you look at the original Ultraman's neck versus the fake bootleg neck, the bootleg Ultraman neck is actually quite short, right? It looks like he almost doesn't have a neck, but on the original Ultra Egg Ultraman, there's an actual space between the head and the body as well.
In fact, the paint on the chest, when you look at it, the curves, the patterns are actually quite different, yeah?
Yes, that is very correct as well, Pete.
And then the arm is a separate two-piece, whereas the bootleg one is actually one piece.
So if you look at this here, it's actually two separate pieces.
Yeah, it gives you more articulation.
Okay, versus the bootleg, it is just a one piece. Not very nice. Okay. Lastly as well, if you look at the overall paint job and the accuracy of Ultraman, the bootleg paint job, right, it stops before he reaches the knee. And if you look at the original Ultra Egg Ultraman, the paint job actually goes all the way to the knee as well.
Yeah.
If you look at TARO, one very noticeable difference between the fake and the original is of course again the paint job, right? The paint job of the silver on his thigh stops right before it reaches the knee, but if you look at the Ultra Egg Ultraman TARO, the silver paint goes all the way across the knee down to his leg as well, right? And Pete, you pointed out something about the weathering.
Yes. The original actually has all these weathering parts. You can see it's a bit darker.
Whereas the fake bootleg, actually it's just one single tone of red, which is actually very, very ugly as well. Right?
And the plastics actually is quite low quality because it's like glossy. Whereas the original one is, when you look at the red paint, is matte in color.
Yes,
so it matches the original Ultraman suit color
that we see in the show, right? This looks very cheap, something that I definitely wouldn't buy even for my kids, right? And as we mentioned earlier as well, even the TARO, it does not have the posable toes on his feet. Unlike the original Ultra Egg, he actually has a unmovable toes on his feet, so you can do a lot more cool poses if you want to.
And you will notice that this Ultraman TARO has the back piece to be able to take it off to put the mantle, the rope.
That is very cool. Yeah. But on the bootleg Ultraman, there is no option or slot for you to actually put in the mantle, which is a very cool addition to any Ultraman fans that you wanted.
Yeah, that's for the Ultraman brothers, yeah.
I also want to talk about the branding on the body, right? If you look at the TARO, original Ultra Egg TARO from Bandai, it is very clean, right? There is no branding whatsoever that says it's from Bandai, but it's on his feet, right? It's only on his feet where there's some branding of where it's made and the product code. But if you look at the bootleg Ultraman, they've actually put up all the different ugly markings on the body, such as here, made licensed by Surabaya, made in China, and even the very ugly logo on the body itself. That is something that a lot of fans such as me would really hate. Yeah. Another noticeable difference is, of course, on the left hand, his henshin device, right? If you look at the original versus the fake, you can see the obvious finishing, right? The pirated bootleg finishing is very simple, yellow blob on everything, whereas if you look at the original one, it's actually carefully painted with gold and silver across the wrist. Now, more importantly as well, something that gets collectors like me very upset is if you look at the finishing of the kit, right? The bootleg kit actually has very bad finishing. There's a lot of nut marks and there's a lot of very visible cracks and even lines on all over the kit itself, right? It's not very clean. But if you look at the original, the seams are actually carefully sealed, right? The lines are not very visible and everything is hid very nicely. Everything is professionally created. Professional weathering is done, and also finishing on the kit itself.
Don't forget about actually the paint job itself. We're going to do some testing on the...
Yes, this is something I suppose all the fans will want to see. Now here we have a fake bootleg Ultraman, and here is a original Ultra Egg from Bandai, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to damage the kit, try to scrape off the paint of the original. Here it goes. Pete, can you focus the camera?
Alright.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, now I'm going to scrape this kit right now. You see that? Paint job is quite clear, it doesn't actually comes off, right? But if you look at the fake one, right now, I'm going to scrape this off. If you look at that, right?
Yes.
The color just comes off straight away. So if you thought you're going to buy a cheap Ultraman for your kid, please bear in mind that the paint comes off very easily, and you know how kids love to put their toys in their mouth, right? You wouldn't want your kid to be, to have or ingest any of this very toxic paint into their mouth. So if you look at this again, right, the paint job comes off very easily. Whereas the original, even after a few scrapes, right, the color is still there. Something that's very surprising, I would say, for a lot of people who don't know the difference between a bootleg, very bad quality, very bad finishing, very bad paint job. And don't forget, if your kids ever have a bootleg toy such as this, the toxic paint that might get into their hands and their mouth when they play with the toys is something that you might not want to pay the price for in the future.
Apart from that, actually one of the coolest thing to buy original is you get a lot of accessories.
Yes, that is correct. There are a lot of accessories such as the Ultraman mantle, a lot of different posable hands, and also the chest plates. Those are something that you will not get if you buy the bootleg. That is for sure.
That's true.
Right.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the real versus bootleg. This is to help people how to differentiate and to buy cautiously and support original products.
Yes, original products may be a little bit more pricey, but bear in mind the price you pay is the quality you get, right?
Alright, that's all folks.
This is Big Pete and Carpetia signing off. Thanks for watching.
Bye.